This is it. Welcome to new Bingers video. We go over timeless classics. We talking about Spider-Man. But first, let's think about some timeless classics. Jurassic Park, Jurassic World movies. I think those are things that we'll still be watching for like 30 to 40 years. You know, got Michael Jackson. This was probably the most popular year of him. Been like a long, long time. He's been gone for a long, long time. So great artist, low rated, but it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. You know, you telling me if we went to go see a Michael Jackson Jurassic Park, you wouldn't be go watch that? Come on now. I know you lying if you say you're not. Other people, LeBron James, classic, watching them forever. Bo Nix, classic. You don't gotta just take my word for it though. Go take J.K. Dobbins'
Decir,
word for it.
pero Bonix es especial.
All right, heading on to the actual video though, we going back to 1999 to go witness the opening of Universal Islands of Adventure, one of the best theme parks in the world, the one that houses the ride that we'll be talking about today, The Amazing Adventure of Spider-Man. I think this is one of the best theme parks in the world. I think it has a lot of A-list rides. I think even on opening day it was amazing. Partnered up with the incredible Hulk Coaster. I think that's two A-ticket rides on one land. It really helps to spring out because this is one of the attractions that you had to go see when you go to one of these parks. Going off here, I think what really makes this ride so great is the actual system of the ride. I think this is one of the best systems that Universal and the partners who created this have ever done. It was so good that Universal signed a agreement that only they would be able to use it and that they would use it for future rides. And you see that with Transformers, as it's almost a copy and paste exactly of how Spider-Man is. And that's no dig to Universal by saying that they're lazy. I think it's a great idea to use a ride system that was vastly successful. Again, if you see value in using the system again, I see no reason why not to do it again. So I think that it was an amazing call, and it provides a little bit of a yin and a yang to the Universal. As in one park you have Spider-Man, and the other park you have Transformers. You can compare the two, and competition only brings out the better ride in the end. And I think they did an amazing job with that Transformers ride too. I think it's one of the best rides in that Universal theme park, and I think that's just a credit to how good this ride system actually is. Where I would consider both the Spider-Man and the Transformers ride top 10 at very minimum rides in these Universal theme parks because of how great that ride system is. Not to mention it's influencing systems now. There was a lot of talk that Spider-Man's ride system influenced the new Harry Potter ride at Epic Universe. So it's just showing how a system made 27 years ago is still today affecting other ride systems that are coming out. Now, and to talk more about the Spider-Man ride specifically, I think what makes this ride so great too is the storytelling of this ride. I think this is one of the best stories in the entire theme park. I think it's one of the best stories in the world that you can get. In fact, there's so many quotable lines. It's easy to follow story. Even if you're not the biggest Spider-Man fan, you're gonna know most of the characters that are on the screen. You got the Green Goblin, you got Doctor Octavius. There's a lot of characters that you're going to be able to recognize, not to mention the character, Spider Man, which is probably the most famous superhero in the entire world. And the draw that he's just going to be able to produce, I think it's another reason why this ride is going to be considered a timeless classic. As even if we look into the theatrics right now of Marvel, you see they're kind of struggling a little bit. They haven't had the same pull that they used to. But the movies that still do are the Spider-Man movies. But those are still making the numbers that they usually make. Because I think that's why Spider-Man is just such a popular character. He has the most TV shows, most solo movies out of any of these superheroes. He is the most popular superhero, and I feel like it's gonna stay like that for a while. So for them to make an amazing system, put it with an amazing storyline, and put it with an amazing character, that's just only going to make a timeless classic just because it's so many factors that are going its way. Not to mention the show building. It's an amazing show building. You're going to go through a very iconic building of Spider-Man, which is the Bugle. And I feel like it plays very well into the story. The Universal does an amazing job. Well, they'll tell you the story with these ride televisions, that are giving you entertainment while also getting you ready for the ride, and then the actual ride itself being the climax, which is what it should be because it is a ride. It should be the climax of the adventure. It should be where all the action is happening, and they do a great job at that. Heading on to the pros and cons here, I've made a little spreadsheet. We got pros: thrilling 4D motion simulation, immersive Spider-Man theme storyline, high-tech special effects like web slinging visuals, popular Marvel character appeal, which is what I was talking about earlier. Where this ride is just the elements that it has are far greater than almost any other ride. I don't think there is an IP that is as great unless you bring in the Harry Potter IP. I think that and you can maybe argue the Jurassic World slash Park ID would be bigger than the Spider-Man IP or slash Marvel IP. But I think that those are the only ones you could really argue to now. I mean, maybe here we'll see how Nintendo does in these upcoming years, see how vastly it affects that. But like I said, just because this ride is Spider Man, it is always going to be very popular. You can slap Spider Man onto any ride, and people are going to want to ride it. But the difference between making somebody that always wants to get on a ride once to just experience it, slash make it an A list, has to get on it every time you go to a Universal, is by making it an amazing ride. Like I said before, you have the amazing ride system and you have the great storyline that goes with this system. So I think all those pros just end up making it a fabulous ride. Now, of course, it does have cons here. Now, it is one of the most popular rides, so it does have long wait times. This ride, you will probably like get lucky. There'll probably have to be opening time, or you have to get really lucky to see anything under 20 minutes. It can get up to an hour. So I feel like the wait time can get pretty long for this ride. No, it's a bad thing, but I feel like you can say that about any ride. So I'm not going to diminish it too much for it. Motion sickness comes from screens. You know, a lot of people can struggle with it, but I feel like it's one of the better rides at this. I think there's other rides that are worse that end up happening for it. I think it's not the worst end all be all of all the rides. I put a couple other things here, but these are a lot like smaller. I don't really believe these wholeheartedly. I just had to fill out the screen. No temporary closures for maintenance. I mean, every ride goes through this. So like I said, I'm not really gonna bash the ride too much. Me personally, I've never really seen it close too much. All the trips I've gone to, it's always been open. But I heard that there's times around where it can happen. The limited capacity per ride cycle. I think it's just another thing is you got to really wait for the scenes to develop. So you are waiting a little bit, but I think the capacity is fine for this ride. It's not one of the worst ones that are the park. I feel like there's other rides that have a lot worse. So I'm when we're weighing the pros and the cons. I feel like the pros are way heavier than the cons because I feel like that's just everyday things for the pros besides the cons. Keep that going. Then I'm also just going to talk about a little bit on why I think there's three things to a rides that make it really good. Other than placement, the theme park you're going to, like just like three essential parts of the ride that I want to go over here. But continuing on the Spider-Man ride, I said I think it's a great ride. I think as long as it's not something crazy like 65 minutes, I think you should always wait for it. The building itself is really cool, so even if you do catch a long time, it's good. It gets you involved with the story, like I said before. It's not the craziest of queues. There is better at the park, but it's not a queue that disappoints either. It's not a queue that's just bland and you have nothing to do the entire time. Talking about Donkey Kong, but all right, going on here to the Spider-Man ride. Now I want to talk about three elements here. I want to talk about IP. What the ride is or what the character is designed after. The ride is designed after. I want to talk about the story of the rides. I feel like that's another big one. And then last, the ride system itself. Now, if I had to rank these, in my personal opinion, I would have to put the ride system number one because I think that is the most important thing. Just to give my reason behind that is I'm not going to I'm not trying to throw shade here, but if we go and compare this ride to the Spider-Man ride at Disney, I think a lot of people would say that this ride is a lot better just because of the fact of the ride systems in both those rides. The systems in both these rides are vastly different. This one allows for more intense. It's able to interact better, I feel like. Whereas the Disney feels like you're going to screen to screen. Whereas I feel like this ride does a good job of not letting you do that. I feel like it blends really well with 3D elements. So at the end, and plus, I think this ride system just allows the creators of this ride to write a more immersive story. It actually puts you in the middle of it. Whereas the one in Disney kind of had to be tame with the story because you couldn't really send the people riding the ride anywhere. The next and most important, I want to say, is probably the IP. Now, the only reason I feel like I had to put IP over story is I feel like you don't really get a story with roller coasters. So I feel like a massive part of theme parks you're not really getting a story for, which is not really roller coasters' fault. It is the thrill element replaces story. That's what it's supposed to be. But I feel like that's why I have to place IP above it. And coming onto this ride, this is probably the most popular IP you can have in the world right now. There's no more popular superhero than Spider-Man. It's crazy how popular he is. Just like looking at Marvel, the way they've been struggling, but even then, his newest movies are still putting up the same numbers. So I think as you continue to witness these rides, I feel like you see people really focus on these IPs, whereas I think really the ride element is the most important thing here. I mean, come on, let's go to Revenge of the Mummy. That system is amazing. Interacts with the dark system, very great. And it's not something where that IP is that popular anymore. I mean, yeah, the Mummy movies are great, but they haven't released since 20, 30 years. You can't tell me that people nowadays are witnessing the Mummy IP and thinking, oh, that's something I had to ride. Like, there's kids, there's people that go to theme parks specifically one land. It would be Harry Potter, it would be Mario, it might even be Marvel superheroes. But something like the Mummy, it's not almost like, yeah, it's cool. No, don't get me wrong, but like, it's not something that people are gonna go crazy after. So I think that is the reason why this ride is so good. Is I think those backbone elements it hits on all three. I think it has one of the best, and not the best stories in the entire theme park. The ride system, like I've said before, amazing, one of its kind. Something that is going to be taught from years. It's still going to be used in future rides. It's something that now to this day is still being influencing other rides, like the new Harry Potter ride. So I think that just shows how great this ride system is. And lastly, yeah, obviously the IP. This is the best IP you can have probably for a superhero. Appreciate you guys for watching. Hope you have a good one.
All those shots you don't make, you miss them all. Every step you take is fake. Watch you crumble like a quake while we rise above the break. We take out the trash, yeah, we clean it fast. Opposite of trash is great.